Hey guys, Steve here. Today we're going to be doing a commander build guide on Franz von Hipper, the German battleship commander. I'm planning on doing Celiax in the next day or two, so if you're watching this in the future, you can check the commander build guide playlist on my channel to find that one. They're kind of both useful commanders, so check that out. How I like to do this is analyze the ship's strengths and weaknesses, particularly focusing on tier 5, 6, and 7 tech tree ships, because those are the ranges, the tiers that I normally play at, and then we'll apply that to the individual commander. So there's two key characteristics that you need to note that are applicable up and down the line. Number one, the German battleship secondaries are extremely strong. It's kind of the main strength of the ships and the main draw for a lot of players. So keep that in mind. And then the AP penetration values are very low, kind of up and down the line. That's provided grasp by JT822 on my Discord, noting the penetration values. This isn't listed in the game. The Bismarck and the Bayern have the lowest pen for the tiers. Gneisenau actually does have above average pen, so that's a little bit of an anomaly, but that's a common characteristic that we need to keep in mind that's present throughout the lines. So looking at the Bayern, it has the best speed, the best turn radius, and the best rudder shift. It has the lowest HP, worst torpedo belt armor, and the worst HE damage. I don't note any stats that are ties, by the way, so keep that in mind. Gneisenau, we have the best turret traverse. Does have torps, which is unique for that, not counting the Scharnhorst. Has the best speed, best rudder shift. Lowest HP, lowest armor values listed. Lowest HE damage, and really bad turn radius on that ship. And the Bismarck, it has the best speed and has the worst torpedo belt armor, lowest HE and AP damage. So a lot of the stats for these ships are not really on one end of the spectrum or the other. As you can see, we didn't list a lot of the stats. That's because most of them are in the middle of the pack. What they kind of shine at usually is maneuverability, which is going to help with close quarter brawling situations, which of course is what these ships are usually intended to do. And, the gun characteristics tend to not be that great. And again, we do have the lowest pen, typically pretty bad damage for these main guns. So you have two commanders, von Hipper and Celiax. Von Hipper, in my mind, is only intended to be used to mitigate the drawbacks of the gun system. Celiax, you have a little bit more flexibility, as we'll talk about in his video. But for von Hipper, my goal with him is to mainly mitigate the deficiencies of the guns. And that's kind of what his perks are designed to do. So, tier 1, you have damage control party reload time, and same thing here, but you up your risk of catching fire. I would say this is probably a little bit better good day's work if you're going to try and add an element to survivability to von Hipper. But we do have range I'm not particularly concerned about, because again, these guns are very inaccurate and the inaccuracy increases at range. So that's not the draw for me here, but the increased precision of the main guns, that's going to help with the guns actually quite a bit. So I'm going with this one. We do have a big risk of catching fire here, which is something you need to keep in mind. For level 2 perks, you got Crisscross, which just focuses on the traverse speed, and here you get the traverse speed increase as well. Actually a little bit stronger of a traverse speed increase, but you also get more AP damage. So again, that's mitigating some of the low damage values of those APs. And again, we're kind of focused on buffing these guns here. So I'm going with gyrating drill bits on that one. This one here, it reduces the reload time for switching shells back and forth. I'm mainly still shooting AP on these battleships, so that one's not as big of a draw for me. Marksmanship, cutting down the dispersion. Again, we're increasing the accuracy. A little bit of a hit to the rudder shift, but, it is what it is. Now this tier 4, a lot of people probably are inclined to go with main gun increase, the range. But again, we're not really worried about those long range shots. Yeah, you want to take them early in the match as you're further back, but they're going to be less effective than the closer range shots that are going to be going on as you move in. So I'm going to go with the durability boost here. Damage control party reload time. That's going to help cycle through those. Now it cuts down the duration. What that means is when you activate damage control party, the icon's green, and while it's green, you cannot get new fires or floods for that. So you do lose that kind of shield that lasts for, a little while after you activate the damage control party. It's minimized or it's reduced, but you want to cycle through that and getting that 10% reduction. Yeah, it's going to help you manage fires, floods, stuff like that. That's going to increase the durability of your ship. So I'm going to go with Emergency Specialist for perk number 4. Legendaries. This one, for me, you can let me know in the comments if you disagree, but torpedo visibility range is nice. I'll give you that. But cutting down a repair party charge, that's just kind of a no-go for me. I don't ever use Farsight, and I wouldn't recommend it personally. Will to rebuild, and you're getting extra HP per repair party. So that one's just going to help you with the durability. Not game-changing legendary perks there, but they are useful. Now the base trait, increase the secondary battery range. This is nice. It's good to use as an inspiration on Celiax as well. So a lot of people will boost von Hipper even if they're planning on using Celiax. But again, the German battleship's main strength is the secondary. So getting the range boost here, and you can see we're at level 11, so you can get it, probably 13-14%. I guess I haven't done the math yet. But a fairly significant increase in the range. Now for inspirations, I use Cunningham. I use Cunningham on all my battleships, and this is going to help with this particular build because, again, it's going to help increase your accuracy quite a bit. You can see I got 4.5 on a 16.2 level Andrew Cunningham. I do want to point out, though, I use Cunningham quite a bit. I would only recommend him in most cases. I'd probably recommend him for von Hipper regardless of your skill, but for most battleship builds, if you're confident in your ability to aim the guns, in other words, if you're good at aiming, I'd say he's very valuable. If you're not as confident, then I would devalue him. So just keep that in mind. You have to be able to honestly evaluate your play and say, am I really good at aiming, or is that something that I need to work on? And if it's something you need to work on, then tightening up the grouping of your shots isn't necessarily going to help you as much as it could be, if you're a very accurate player. Now, for secondary one, I'm currently using Jojo, the French commander. This is increasing the AP penetration. Again, we noted early on that that's kind of a main problem up and down the line. So I've been experimenting with this and liking it so far. And this one or Celiax is kind of who you want to go with here, and I'll pop Celiax up on the screen here as well so you can look at him. With Cunningham, we've addressed the accuracy issues as best as we can, and with Celiax or Jojo, we're addressing the other key deficiencies of the guns, either the low penetration or the low damage, and boosting either of them is going to help your performance. Now, it would take a lot of games, specifically testing these two different builds, to figure out which one's better, and even then, I don't know. It would take a huge amount of data that I'm not willing to do, frankly. But I think both are interesting. I'm running Jojo currently just because he's newer. I'm testing him out. You gotta, there's the penetration's an issue, especially at range. Now, we don't want to be running these German battleships at range all game, but we don't also want to be charging in there too early when those destroyers are still around. You can get focused the further on you push, so you got to kind of time your pushes with these German battleships. So early on, you're going to be at range, so cutting down that penetration penalty is going to help you there. The damage is just, you're going to penetrate shots regardless of what range you're at, and getting extra damage there is going to help you out. So von Hipper, he's got a very specific goal that we're trying to address here. We're trying to fix these main gun deficiencies that the German battleships have. And I should point out, I run von Hipper in this build on the Tier 3, the Tier 4, the Tier 5 German battleships, the Tier 6, the Gneisenau, and the Tirpitz. currently as I'm making this. That's who I run them on. And I have Celiax on the Scharnhorst and the Bismarck. So I think there's a lot of room for von Hipper. I mean, the secondaries on those ships that I listed just aren't remarkable enough to really focus on them. But you can definitely make a case that Celiax would perform well as the durability build. Again, we'll be going over Celiax here in the near future, so I don't want to get into him too much. But that's just my current thinking, and I think there's plenty of room for von Hipper on this line. So this is kind of the main idea, at least how I'm running him here. And then we'll go over a couple ancillary inspirations to consider as well. So first up, we have George Dewey, the rock star. George Dewey is an interesting inspiration for all battleships, and I would always give him a look. Increasing that torp visibility range is going to help you react to the torpedoes, which in turn will give you a better chance to not eat a bunch of them, which is going to increase your survivability. And keep in mind with these German battleships, our kind of goal, long-term goal as the match progresses is to close in and get as close to these ships as we can, which is going to, the closer you are to the enemy team, the more visible they are. Most players just focus on whatever's closest to them. Destroyers are no exception. They're going to notice you because you're closing in. That's kind of your goal throughout the game. So, getting that extra little bit of a boost to deal with the torps certainly can help you. Another one to consider that I usually bring up on the battleship builds is Kondo, which he's always been on my list to boost, and I want to test him out quite a bit. I think he's very interesting. I think max you can shave off about a kilometer and a half of your detectability on battleships. Now the German battleships are kind of middle of the pack in terms of surface detectability to begin with, but shaving that down, you could potentially have the best detectability on the battlefield when it comes to battleships. Keep in mind, probably 1% of the player base is using a Kondo inspiration on their thing. So just by putting him, level 9 plus, you're going to have an advantage inherent against other battleships. And if you get into situations where, you're not getting spotted by destroyers, basically, you can actually get quite a bit of an advantage by having the decreased detectability. But again, I don't think this would really shine until you have a very high level Kondo, and the resources being limited as they are. I just haven't had the time to spec this one out as well as I'd like to and test it out. But he's an interesting one to consider. And then we have Jellicoe and Takagi. Both of them are increasing the effectiveness of your heals. Now you only get 3 heals on von Hipper as opposed to 4/5 with Celiax, depending on the level you have Celiax at. So they're less effective there. But if you're trying to increase the survivability of the ship a little bit, you could potentially spec out Jellicoe or even both of them, Takagi. I think they essentially have the same effect. I just looked at it briefly for like 1 or 2 ships, and it seemed to me like the increase was the same per level. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments, because I do need to know that. But just for spending 2 or 3 minutes looking at it, it seemed to me like the increase was the same across levels. So if you want to put one of those on there, like let's say you don't value Cunningham, or you're just going to say, throw up your arms and say these ships aren't that accurate, I'm just going to roll with it, then maybe you could slot in one of those, or potentially even both of them. But I'm still going to say, if you're going to run von Hipper, you need to run it with the purpose of focusing on the main guns as I've laid out, and I think the Cunningham / Celiax and JoJo build is the way to go. Or you could even run Celiax and JoJo and not Cunningham. Those 3, depending on how you personally perform and which aspects you want to highlight. Any combo of those 3, I think, are the way to go for von Hipper. So for a lot of these commander guide videos, I kind of lay out, here's the build I'm using, and then here's other good options that I think are about as strong. And then I have some kind of tier 2 inspiration options. This one I kind of have the 3 main guys, Cunningham, JoJo, Celiax. Use any combo of those 3 if you have them, or whichever you personally value the most. And then I kind of think there's a little bit of a drop off after that because von Hipper, our main goal is to really just focus on the gun performance. And if you're not inclined to do that, then I'd recommend Silex because he's a lot more flexible and, kind of highlights some of the more interesting aspects of the German battleships. So that's going to do it for this one. My main goal with these commander build guides is to kind of have a lot of feedback from you guys because there's the whole point of the commander system is to allow you to have some creativity on the builds and tailor the builds to how you want to play the ships. So just because this is my opinion, there's plenty of room for better ideas or alternative ideas than the ones I have. So that's what I really like to get from you guys on these, a lot of feedback. But I hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, you should consider subscribing. There's a lot of World of Warships coming all the time. And we'll see you guys all later. All right, peace.